Let us show you how we get this water into this van using this simple DIY water filter. You're probably not, or at least you shouldn't be, drinking directly from the stream. Even though it does look really nice and clean, it definitely needs to be filtered. This system isn't just for van people. It can be for car camping, overlanding, anybody who really needs fresh water. The system consists of 2 filters, a pump, some tubing, the case. But before we go into the details, let's show it to you in action. You have found Explore Trek Adventure with Kelly and Greg. We cover everything camping from backpacking to adventure van.
So let's go fill up this guy too. Oh, why did they make water so heavy? Some water systems we've seen have hoses and the van's way over there. The water's way over there. You'd have to have like a gazillion foot hose. Plus you'd have to have a pump strong enough to do it. So really our system, you have to bring the water to the van.
Let's see exactly how much the van has right now. In the freshwater tank, it's showing, whoops, that's the battery volt, 1/3 full. So I think it'll take about 15 maybe more gallons. So let's go get that water added.
Let's get our dirty hose. This is the filter that goes into the dirty water. Put that in there. And this is our clean water hose. If you're using any kind of filter system, you should always purge it a little bit. So this system does not have a battery in it because we have batteries all over the place. There, it's filling up. Now we're gonna have muddy camps. Okay, we've purged the system. Now we just need to plug it into the van. Plug it in, make sure you turn the valve. Okay, so we need to do power fill. So we'll green over and blue down. Now I'll go directly into the tank. Now all we need to do is turn it on. So that was about probably a little over 4.5 gallons. It's always hard to get to the bottom of these collapsible buckets. It's easier just to go get more water. But we will suck the water out of this 5-gallon jug here. This filter is too big, so we have a smaller one to put on. This guy here. I'll put that guy in there. Turn her on. I do have to admit, it is not the quietest system.
Okay, let's double check to see. After we've done the bucket, we were at, now at 2/3, so it's going pretty quick. You can definitely hear the engine of the motor of the pump.
Okay, the 5-gallon bucket is empty. We went and got another 5 gallons of water here. There it goes. You can see how dirty this pre-filter gets. All right, this is how you know the water's full. It overflows coming out. So let's turn everything off. And that took about, I would guess, around 12 gallons. We parked just perfectly where the freezer was just blaring in the sun. We put the shade down, but it's still a little toasty. It's gonna be sucking up the juice. All right, let's turn everything off, turn that filter, and then we go back to dry camping mode. And this is why you always put towel air, because it will leak. Over here on the back of the Revel, this port actually was a USB port. I don't know why you would want USB back here. I replaced it with a 12 volt, which you could use to filter your water. The problem is we're using that and I have it routed in to power our little freezer there. So that's kind of taken. And that's also why we just have one of our power stations. After filtering all that water on the Jackery 240, we're down to 96%. So you can see that that little pump uses hardly any energy. I'm about ready to catch fire, so let's roll this down, get the van in the shade, take all these parts down, and we will show you everything that makes up this system. Even though we designed this system to filter down to 0.2 microns, we primarily do not use this water for drinking, even though we could. We keep all of our drinking water in this Dometic jug. And there's a whole separate filter system that we're gonna use for that. That'll be next week. I do wanna say this is version 1 of this filter system. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know, totally open to that. Let me show you, this is the pre-filter, and I think this could be a room for improvement, because this is the main filter that's gonna hit first. This is gonna just basically get the sticks and junk out, and I think we could have a better pre-filter, but this is what we got. So this one can actually undo. You can see the screens on that. They're pretty small, but there is a secondary screen right here. This one does not come off. For that blue jug, I just cut the rim off of one of these pre-filters and we just use that. This connects to some food grade silicone tubing, and just make sure you're getting food grade stuff as much as you can. And this goes directly into the pump. There are a ton of pump options. I went with this little Seaflo 21 series pump because it's really small, it does some decent pressure, and it was relatively cheap. And I wanted to make sure that this whole system stayed relatively inexpensive. This pump just comes with 2 leads, and I wired it to this 12 volt, but you could wire it to any other, power source. Kelly's on fire. She is taking a water break. All this water is cold. Shall we push her in?
Absolutely not.
Out of the pump, you come right into the first 5-inch canister, which goes directly into the second canister, and then out to your exit hose. Right here. Ow, ow, ow. We had to move up because there was these red ants and they kept biting my feet. And they hurt really bad. Okay, next up we have the case. And this is a Harbor Freight Apache 2800 case in glorious orange. Everything is free floating in here, primarily because we need to be able to pull these canisters out and change these filters. It is very hot, so we need to cool off. Now there are some prefab systems like the guzzle system. It's quite expensive and it uses very specific parts. Also uses a UV filter. We're not using this system for drinking water, so that's why I didn't go with that system. Partially also very expensive. There's some really nice water filters on the market now, and I wanted to be able to use my own filters of whichever ones I want.
To make this a little bit easier to understand, we're going to make the microns big real world objects. So if this is a 30 micron filter with the holes in it, I'm going to say that's the size of our van. Now a grain of sand, like from the stream, is 50 to 200 microns. So basically the size of like a city bus. So that city bus is not going to be getting through our van size hole. Now here's the problem. Bacteria is from 0.5 to 5 microns, basically the size of a basketball to say a motorcycle, which is definitely going to be getting through our 30 micron van size holes if we're using this filter, which this is good for city water, not so much for stream water. Now for our first filter, it is the Pentair carbon block, and this is 0.5 microns. So the holes are probably about the size of a basketball. That means that bacteria, most of it is not going to be fitting through those holes. Some of it will though. And that leads us to our second filter, and this is by Blue Technology. It gets down to 0.2 microns. So basically golf ball size holes. It is getting all of that bacteria out of it. This is basically very similar to what we use when we filter for backpacking. The only downside is it doesn't get viruses, but this water is super clean. But as long as there's not like dead animals and human waste, we should be pretty okay. Even though this makes great water, we actually have a separate system for our drinking water, which we'll talk about next week. That is our water filter system in a nutshell. If you guys have any suggestions, please let us know, because this is version 1 of our system. I'll have links down in the description for everything that we use to create this water system, so it's easy for you to find. Go watch this video next. You can find us at explorertrekadventure.com, and we'll see you next time.